Hi, my name is Tom Secret. Today I'm going to share with you 3 things that I think you should teach your children for. Here's the first one. Number 1, be healthy and fit. Did you know that 2 billion people are being overweight and living a healthy lifestyle in the whole world? That's a lot. 2 billion people. Now, why should you teach your children to be healthy and fit? The reason why, because if you look at the ratio, what's the reason why most people are dying? And I'm not talking about like a natural death, but I'm talking about the people that are ill. The number 1 factor is heart disease. And most people, they also struggle, with circulation problems, blood sugar problems. So I think 95% of the illnesses could have been prevented by most of the people living a healthier lifestyle. So that's the main reason why you should teach your children to be healthy. Because you say you might prefer them to be smarter rather than being healthier. But let me tell you something. You can be really, really rich. You can be really, really smart. But if you don't have the health, all those things, they go out on the window. Let me ask you something. Which one would you rather be? Would you rather be a billionaire who's in a wheelchair? Or would you rather be broke and being healthy and being able to enjoy your freedom and do whatever you like in your life? Which one would you choose? Comment below. So the number 1 thing that you should teach your children for is how to eat healthy and how to exercise. Now I know you might be saying to your kids, or you might be telling your kids, like, come on, let's do exercise. Let's do this and let's do that. The kids, they don't learn by you telling them what to do. The kids, they learn by you showing them what to do. So if you are living an unhealthy lifestyle, for example, you're drinking Coca-Cola, you're going to the pub every single day, well, that's what you're teaching to your children. We know a couple that they go straight after school, okay? The first thing that they do is they go to the pub. I mean, we're not like friends with them or something, but we know who they are. And, once their kids are finished with school, all what they do, this is their family program every single day to go after school to the pub, okay, and have some beers. Obviously, the kids are not drinking beers yet. But what kind of role models are they to their children? What sort of future are these kids going to have, seeing their mom and dad, leaving the pub, and actually they leaving together, at 10 o'clock in the evening? I mean, this is just terrible. It's shocking to see, something like that. And I thought I'm the one, who have seen a bad example in my family. But these kids are even worse. So remember, the first thing that you must teach your children is to be healthy and be fit. But it's only going to be possible if you're going to follow a good routine and you're going to show them a good example that you can exercise and you can stay healthy. Okay? Because kids, they learn, most of us, we learn by modeling. So who you are today basically is based on observation, copying others, and putting that into repetition. So that's why, for example, most of the people, they got like a bad or negative self-talk, because this is what they used to hear from their parents. Their parents might have been telling them they are stupid. So what they are doing, they just repeating their parents' words. So what self-talk is going on inside of them is, I'm being stupid. While they could have been one of the brightest people in the whole world, but because that's what they seen before, that's the model that they took on. The second most important thing that you should teach your children for is to be respectful towards others. Don't you think nowadays, the young generation, they seem to don't respect or even disrespect the elderly and the adults. So when you tell them something, they look at you like you haven't said a single word. One word goes in this ear and it goes out on the other. It looks like they're like sort of going backwards rather than, going forward in their life. Just a few things that I have experienced, from these kids being disrespectful is the number one thing when most people travel on the bus. If you look at most of the adults, they can sit nice and quiet. But when the kids, they're sort of teenagers, they're being 12 and 14 years old, and they still don't know how to behave on the bus. So they shout and scream. Sometimes they even fight. I might have seen just bad examples where I'm living at, but this is a big town. In London, you can see, quite a few things. The other thing that I have seen, it's only common in my country where I'm coming from, which is Hungary, Eastern Europe. Some of the kids, they are even beating up their own teachers. What the fuck is going on in the world? How can this even happen? Back in the days, for example, like 30, 40 years ago, some of the people, they have been so tough with their children. If in school they didn't behave and the teacher has been, probably slapped them or beaten them, what happened was they went home and they told their parents like, "Oh, mom, the teacher has beaten me because of something," and the mom is gonna ask or the dad is gonna ask, "Why have you been beaten for?" And they don't try to say it honestly what really happened. They distracted the hour, or the class, and so they used to get beaten by their parents too. Because the parents, they knew most of the teachers, they're there to teach them, and they would only hurt children. They would only slap them, or only, they had to hold out their nails or their fingers like that, and they used to bang, hit on it with like a pole or like a ruler. So actually, I think, I'm not saying those days were good, but what I'm saying is, back in the days, most of the children were more disciplined, okay? And they were more respectful also. So, there's an influencer on the internet. He says, fear works. And I'm not saying you're supposed to hit your kids or something, but if you don't teach them at a young age how to be respectful, they probably never gonna learn it. And if you're being disrespectful towards others, remember, you are their role model to show them right. Now, the next thing that I have seen, children doing is some of them, I used to teach kids in big groups, like 30 kids at the same time. And, I used to teach kids from, for example, Eton House, Thomas's school, and these people, their parents, they have paid £20,000, for a good tuition. And I'm only talking about primary school. I'm not talking about university education or something. And most of the kids, they were lack of the basics, which is saying good morning and saying thank you after the class. So what's the point of sending all these children to these schools if they cannot even learn the basics? I know this is a thing that we should be teaching, to our children, to be respectful, say thank you for things, and, meet and greet. When you're meeting someone, you need to greet the people. You need to say, for example, when you're going to the bank with your children, the first thing that they're supposed to do is just say hello or good morning, good afternoon. At least trying to, greet the people. But if they're not going to learn this by the age of 12, they're going to be sort of careless and disrespectful towards others. Some of the kids, they think, they deserve anything. So when you do something for them, they don't even say thank you. I rarely travel on the bus, but sometimes, in order for me to save time, it's just much better, in London, just to get on the bus. Here's the perfect example I have seen on a bus. There was a gentleman who was, first of all, disrespectful towards the driver. Second, he wasn't even thankful. Let me just tell you the story. So what happened, I was sitting on a bus and one of the gentlemen just got on a bus and he just tried to pass through the driver without even saying, I'm really sorry, I don't have an Oyster card to use. So basically he was about to go on the bus without paying. Now when the bus driver brought him back or called him back, he tried to be really disrespectful towards the driver, but because he was holding up most of the people on the bus, there has been one gentleman who just went and paid the fee instead of him. But this gentleman that got on a bus or got a free ride, he didn't even say thank you for the other gentleman who has paid his ticket, which is crazy. I mean, do you want to have kids like that? I guess you don't. Me neither. So therefore, remember, teach your children to be respectful towards others, especially if they are elderly or even older than them. Teach them to greet others and also teach them to always say thank you if someone does something for them. These should be basics, yet most of the people, they lack of this sort of skill. I have to call this skill because, now it's so rare when people, they say thank you or they, greet each other. You have to teach this skill to be respectful towards others and say thank you and just greet others, okay? Here's the third thing that I want you to teach your children for, and that is to be helpful towards others. For example, the other day I have been walking in the street and, across the road to the other side of the pavement, I have seen a gentleman, fell over. And what happened was most of the people, they were just passing by, without helping him. So actually when the light turned green, I was able to cross the road and, I went to help him. But, I was the only one there. And actually 20 seconds later, there have been another person, it was two of us. There was a kind lady who was always asking whether do we need some help or not. And, that was just very kind of her. But out of 100 people that was passing by, it was only two of us that was helpful or tried to help that poor gentleman. So my question is, what sort of a direction does the whole world, does the whole population is heading to? I mean, I do understand all of us are busy, so they might have been rushing somewhere. But if you can't help and spend 5 minutes of your free time, to help others, but when you go home, you're probably spending like 2-3 hours daily on social media, wasting time. So the main reason why you should teach your children to be helpful, to make the whole world go towards a better direction. Also, if they don't learn it again at a young age to be helpful, it's really hard to correct something, when they're adults. Because us humans, we are the creature of habits. So there are two reasons why should you teach your children, to be helpful. Number one, to make the whole world go towards a better direction. And the second one is, if you are an entrepreneur, you would want to pass some sort of a knowledge onto your children, right? To the next generation. And the basics of all business is by being able, to help others, right? For example, there was Mark Zuckerberg, that he has created Facebook, and his only idea was just to help people. And look how it turned out. He sold Facebook for $15 billion. Just by one simple idea, which is helping people connect with each other much easier. Simple idea, simple concept, just helping others, right? 15 billion. So look at the outcome. I hope you have found this video helpful. please comment below. What is it that you would also think is really, really helpful or would be helpful for your children to learn?